Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Pioneer Prep. I'm Grimm from the Bug Out Boys, and the prep that we are going to be doing today is rendering fat. Now, fat has a lot of great uses, but I'll talk about that later. Now, I'm going to show you what you're going to need to make this prep a reality. Everything that you're going to need to render fat is here in front of you. A double boiler, or you could use an electric slow cooker, but the main principle is that you do not want the flame in direct contact with the pot that you're going to be rendering the fat in, because you'll end up actually cooking the fat, and we don't want to do that. A jar to store the fat in, funnel to get it into the jar, some cheesecloth, and a colander to strain out the cracklings, and then a dish or jar to store the cracklings in because they're yummy and you're going to want to eat those. Cutting board and knife because you're going to trim off all the meat and gristle off of your fat, because that's what we're after, is the fat. And then finally, big old pile of fat. Now, I went to my local supermarket and I was actually able to purchase, to my surprise, fat from them. Any kind of fat that you want. Beef, pork, lamb, whatever they're serving there, you can actually purchase the fat from them. But if you do not have that option, I also do save the fat from my steaks, T-bones, and all that. And then I render that. So let's get this double boiler going and start rendering some fat. Now, while you're trimming away all of the meat and gristle from your fat, be sure to trim or chop, slice, whatever you want to call it, your fat down to smaller, manageable pieces. This will speed up the rendering process. Some have used a meat grinder, have gotten good results with that. I don't have one, so I just use a knife to process the fat like such. Also, do this while it's cold. It's a whole lot easier to cut while the fat is cold rather than it being warm. Double boiler is raring to go. So put the fat down, get our lid on there, trap in the heat, and I'm going to start this timer to show you how long it takes to render that fat, because rendering fat does take some time, and because we're dealing with an open flame source, at least in my case, I strongly suggest that you don't leave it unattended and check in it from time to time. So while you're waiting for your fat to render, maybe you could watch I don't know, a Bug Out Boy episode. Well, we're about an hour now, a little over, and take the top off. If you can see that. Oh yeah, you can see it right down at the bottom. It is rendering out. Also, just want to make a note, this is the dry method of rendering fat, not the wet. Moment of truth. Kept it on there for about another hour, so you make sure get more out of it. I did trade out my funnel. If you notice, this is a little bit better to use. And it's going to take our time. Be very careful because this is very hot. Now that you got the cracklings safely in here, take a spoon and just kind of push on them. Press them down to try and get as much out of these as possible. Well, it looks like from 1.5 pounds of beef fat, I was able to render just about 5 ounces of tallow. And then back here we have the cracklings, and these you can let them dry out, cool down, and eat them as a snack, or you can throw them in a frying pan, crisp them up a little bit more, and enjoy them like that. So now I'm taking the cracklings and I'm crisping them up. And when you do this, make sure you have a lid over your frying pan, because these things shoot and explode everywhere, and you want to be very careful for that. But what I am noticing is that I'm getting a lot more fat rendering out of this, so I'm going to add that to my jar, and then you get a nice tasty little treat that looks like this. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is how you render fat. And in this case, it's called tallow because it came from a cow. Now don't think that fat is just for cooking. You can use it for waterproofing, keeping your blades from rusting, and making soap. And then for those munchy needs, I also showed you how to make some crispy crackling. So, if you enjoyed this Pioneer Prep, please do subscribe because there's going to be more Pioneer preps, bots, reviews, and Bug Out Boy episodes along the way. And if you have any questions or comments about how I did this or how to do this even better, please leave that down below in the comment section because I'm always trying to learn. So till then, take care.